It is the Doomsday podcast, and Ed, in this, every other week, we're like, oh, the Cowboys are back in it now. Oh, the Cowboys are horrible now. They're 3-4-1, and again, the defense was back to just being. And I don't know if there's too many holes for Jerry to fix. But Ed, I thought it was cool that you and a few family members were on the scene. You spend some time during the year in Colorado, and you've got grandkids that are in the not too far from Denver, but that had to be a neat deal to be there. And for once, I don't guess you ever made it up to the press box, did you? Did you enter the press box today?
I did not enter the Jim Sacamano press box. It was interesting for me because obviously I grew up here, went to high school here, college here, worked in the Denver Boulder market. We have a second home here that we'll retire to, I think, eventually, if I'm ever making enough money to retire. And hope you'll help me with that endeavor eventually. But the Broncos were the first team that I ever covered as a writer, the Dan Reeves, John Elway Broncos of the 80s. And so Patrick Smythe is a friend of mine. In fact, when I got laid off at ESPN in 2017, the Broncos were prepared to hire me. And we got to the point where I had actually accepted the job and unfortunately couldn't work it out with my ESPN contract being paid in full. And so I had to renege on that agreement. And it didn't happen. And I went back to Dallas and did wind up at ESPN again. But anyway, Patrick Smythe treated us to game tickets today in the 300 level, mid-level, gave us field pass access pregame. So I got to take Henry and our son, Brian, and his wife, Sarah, our daughter-in-law, down on the field pregame. And they had a great experience down there. In fact, a couple times when Brandon Aubrey was kicking pregame, the ball would go into the net, and the guys who were fielding the balls out of the net and throwing them back to Aubrey let Henry have the ball and throw it back to the intermediary who threw it back to Aubrey's group. So we had a great time. Henry wore all his Cowboys gear. He had asked me beforehand how much he could wear, considering the Broncos provided the tickets. I wore a neutral outfit, and I was the only one of the four of us who did so. And I told Henry, it just depended. If the Cowboys win, we might have to fight our way out of the stadium. As it turned out, that wasn't necessary. All of the violence was committed by the Broncos on the field.
And there was plenty of that. And the Cowboys lose 44-24. And that's glad that the family was able to have a good time despite the Cowboys' loss. And reports are that Henry, your grandson, was seen changing into an orange jersey in the parking lot.
and Henry had a great 10th birthday in Dallas because Tad Carper and the Cowboys PR staff allowed me to bring him out to an off-season workout, and he met CeeDee Lamb, his favorite player, and he met Dak Prescott, and obviously they were a lot better that day than they were today in this game. So Dak Prescott had his worst quarterback rating of the season, 51.5. He came into the game. We knew it was going to be a challenge against this Broncos defense, which creates so much pressure, leads the league in red zone defense, leads the league in third down defense. And he went into the game, with 4 straight games with 3 touchdown passes or more and no interceptions. And in this game, he had no touchdown passes, 2 interceptions, and suffered 2 sacks. So the defense played poorly, but the quarterback didn't play well either.
No, you're right. And, they almost need to be perfect. They need to score almost every drive and right from the start with the pre-snap penalties, the false start down there on the 1-yard line. I mean, that was a sign of things to come. And by halftime, Cowboys were not really in this game. And they briefly felt like they were a tiny bit connected after that one score. But the Broncos went back down, and the game was quickly over after that. The Z-Man, Zach from Rogue Media Network, Zach Burke, if you'll please play the music now, sir. And there there it is. And Ed, another embarrassing performance by the Cowboys on a lot of fronts. And the only good memories you had in seeing the Orange Crush jerseys is what they brought up on the broadcast, which was that the Cowboys beat them in the 1977 Super Bowl. And that's about the last time they've beaten Denver. The last time they've beaten them on the road would have been 1992. In fact, I was watching some footage of that game, and Emmett was going for some type of record that season, and I remember, and so that was
touchdown record, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, that's right, and so that was kind of cool to see that. But man, that had to be, Ed. You talked about your connection and having covered that team, but that had to bring back some memories, seeing those jerseys. And I think for people that have watched the league a long time, like we have, it just brings back. I mean, obviously you think of Elway, but I think about those great defensive backs. Atwater comes to mind, maybe because also he played in Arkansas and was in the old SWC, and just people like that. Mecklenburg for some people.
Tom Jackson.
Yeah.
Randy Gradishar, who just went in the Hall of Fame. Steve Atwater was one. Louis Wright was a great corner. Mike Harden, Dennis Smith, a great safety combination. Rulon Jones rushing off the edge. Reuben Carter. They really did have some strong defensive teams in those earlier eras. But it's quite revealing that the Cowboys they've won 3 Super Bowls more recently than they've beaten the Broncos in Denver.
Wow. Yeah.
And the last coaches to beat the Broncos in Denver was Jimmy Johnson, and the last one to beat them ever was Barry Switzer. Like, that's how long it's been. And the Broncos, they're a better team now with Sean Payton. Obviously, he talked about this week how, he had many opportunities in his mind where it was close to him becoming the head coach of the Cowboys, but he took over in Denver after a year away, and he drafted Bo Nix, the 6th quarterback drafted in the first round last year, and he's managed him extremely well, and the Broncos were by far the better team to get today.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't really that close. And Bo Nix, after he was kind of smiling after that first interception, and it didn't end up burning him that badly. And then he came back, played really well the rest of the day. And Ed, let's dig in. We'll talk offense. Let's start with the defense, where the Cowboys have really struggled. And quite honestly, depending on what part of they're the worst defense in the NFL by a lot of measures. And horrible against the pass, really bad against the run as well. And that showed up in both areas today. And I would say even early on, R.J. Harvey's a player that I believe he played at UCF's where I remember seeing him play. And because I was like, wait, number 12, who is this kid? Because we know Dobbins, we know he's a good player, but it's just, there's basically all you have to do is just kind of seal the edge, bounce a run outside, and then you're off to the races. And the Cowboys have no linebackers. Their cornerbacks can't come up and make plays. They don't fill gaps. And it just all together. But I just thought we would start now to just about how I don't even know. Like at one point this year, a couple of weeks ago, we were just talking about how bad Eberflus was. And today, I wasn't even so much thinking of Eberflus as I was like, these guys are just clueless. Like, even if, a guy seemingly might be in position, they just, like, all Denver has to do is just shove them down the field. And then nobody ever even makes contact with these runners. It's just, this is a hapless defense. And Ed, again, I'm left thinking about some of those really bad Mike Nolan defenses that the Cowboys have had, who also has Denver connections, but they don't have any chance. And this game was no different in that respect.
Yeah. The Broncos scored 44 points. The Broncos are a mid-level offensive team. They average 23 points a game. They scored 44 points. That's the most points they've scored since 2018 in a game. And I think they're the 5th team against Dallas this year that has either created or matched their season high point total against this Dallas defense. Dallas, 5th game, allowing 40 or more points since the start of last season. That's tied for the most in the NFL with the Carolina Panthers. They've allowed now an average of 31.3 points per game this season, second worst in the NFL to the Bengals, who averaged 31.6. But it's the third most points per game allowed in the first 8 games of the season in Cowboys history, ahead of only the 1960 team, the very first Cowboys team ever. An expansion franchise allowed 34 points a game. And then you mentioned it, the Mike Nolan defense of 2020, which allowed the most points in Cowboys history and allowed an average of 33.3. Those are the only 2 defenses in franchise history that have allowed more points through 8 games than this current Cowboys defense. And, what this means is, they're going to go, because they have one more game before the bye, before the trading deadline, against Arizona at home, Monday Night Football. This means, though, that the Cowboys are going to go into their bye week, and they won't have beaten a team with a winning record. They won't have won on the road against any team except the Jets, who finally won today by the narrowest of margins. And they won't have won consecutive games at any point this season by the time they get to the middle of the year. And the hard part of their season is ahead of them still, schedule-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was a chance for them to do, themselves a lot of good and create a different identity. And they just failed miserably to even give themselves an opportunity to do it. I mean, you mentioned the defense creates a turnover on the first possession of the game on a terrible throw by Bo Nix, and that depleted secondary comes up with a big play. And for the first time in, I think, 5 or 6 games, the Cowboys didn't fully capitalize on a takeaway. They kicked a field goal instead of getting a touchdown. And you mentioned it. They're terrible in the red zone. Denver's great in the red zone defensively. It was just all of the things we think about the Cowboys played out in this game. With Dak Prescott, they don't beat teams with winning records with any kind of regularity. They're like a 500 team in that situation. They're a 500 team on grass, or a 500 team against AFC opponents. All of the things that we know them to be that defines them as something of a fraud in the grand text of being a dominant team or a quality team in the NFL, a playoff type team. They can't meet that standard.
No, they can't. And Ed, I just saw Jerry had commented on some different things, and he says that this the outcome of this game doesn't really impact how he'll approach a trade. As I was saying earlier, Ed, it just seems like there are too many leaks to plug, right? Like you need pass rush help. You never get sacks.
They got none today.
You don't have good run fits. Your linebackers just get washed out of plays. You give up huge passing yards. You got a banged up secondary now, and on top of that, so it's hard to imagine. And in fact, we'll hear from Stretch. He imagined a scenario where you basically tried to trade for every key member of the Texans defense. You just got like Jalen Petrie and everybody else, which doesn't seem.
You mentioned that. Jerry Jones as a general manager owner, the Cowboys have so many holes on defense that even he can't fix them. Well, he created one. He created the pass rush hole a week before the season when he traded Micah Parsons, and he said he did it to give this team a better chance this year, and did it with full knowledge of, trying to take advantage of Dak Prescott's, window to compete for a Super Bowl. And here they are with a losing record. They don't rush the passer, like you said. And if I were them, would you really invest any of those prominent picks? Like, you're the only team in the NFL with 4 first-round draft picks in the next 2 years. Why invest them in this team? I would take the money. They have the second most cap money. Only New England has more than their $31.5 million in cap money. Why not take that money and sign, George Pickens and Javonte Williams, 2 extensions? They're on expiring contracts, and then use the draft picks to build the defense over the next 2 years. That's what I would do if I were them. I think they're foolish if they go invest any of these picks in this team.
Yeah, I think it would only be window dressing, and it would be Jerry just trying to show, hey, here's how much I care. Oh, I believe in this team. I do think Jerry thinks like that. Like, he needs to show these players that he's still trying to help them. Well, he's already hurt them enough. And you're right. He might help them by not doing something other than maybe getting some extensions done. He also addressed Ed, and Ed's been driving back from Denver to get back to his Colorado studio. He also addressed the Trayvon Diggs situation. And, we quizzed him, both the two of us last week, and Jerry seemed to indicate, oh, he'll be back. He may play for us this week.
Right.
And then they end up putting him on injured reserve, and he's basically acting like he's not in shape. And he's got another injury, maybe outside of whatever this concussion is. We still don't know exactly what happened at his home. This is another sign. This is another embarrassing thing. And there's some belief, Ed, that this guy may have played his last snap for the Cowboys because he had the dispute in the offseason. They took money away from him or
$500,000.
Correct. For not doing his rehab with the Cowboys and doing it elsewhere and all that. And
they didn't have him start, didn't play for 2 series in the game against Green Bay for some disciplinary action the coaching staff took against him.
Yeah.
Now we've got this mysterious concussion that the Cowboys have not explained. And he didn't go on IR with a concussion. I was told yesterday by 3 sources it's more of a problem with his right knee, which is not the knee that was injured and resulted in that complex surgery that he rehabbed this offseason. It's the other knee, the one he hurt 2 years ago. And so, Schottenheimer said after the game, he's going to have to do a hell of a lot of work to get back to getting in shape to be able to play again this season. Jerry didn't rule out his return to the roster at some point this season, but nobody expects him to be on this team next year, given the cap savings that they can experience if they move on from him after, as a June 1 cut. So we may have seen the last of Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible, even though Jerry denied that last week after the game.
I think you could actually save the most money against the cap if you actually traded him. But I don't know right now. He's in such a weird spot. I don't know who would be jumping in line to try to trade for him. But that is the situation right now with him. And Ed, today, sticking with the defense, Sean Payton knew the score. He knew, Donovan Wilson was out. Wanye Thomas was out. Diggs was obviously out. And they were having to play Bridges a ton. And while he did get that early interception, they went at him throughout the game. And there were just so many areas where they were just having a field day back there. The Marquise Bell, not known for his coverage. This team was in a bad way. And they were having to, they were having to play guys out of position. Like Stewart is a cornerback who they had to kind of get ready to play safety. And then on top of that, Ed, they had bad special teams. They were allowing big returns. The Cowboys were supposed to be a good return team, right? I mean, Turpin in the past has shown that he can be a real threat in that area. But today it was the other team who had, after the Cowboys did one good thing, right? I think it was when they made it 27-17. What did what did Denver do? They came down, had a long kickoff return, and took it to the Cowboys.
Marvin Mims, yeah. Mims did. He's a quality returner. But, yeah, I mean, they played so bad that not even Brandon Aubrey could save them today. And they were bad on defense, but, we've come to expect that. The problem for the Cowboys is they're one team at home and they're a different team on the road offensively. I mean, offensively, they average 41 points a game at home, the highest number in the league. And then on the road, they average 24 points a game. So, like I said, they don't play well outside. They don't play well against high-quality competition. They don't play well on grass. And Denver provided all of that and more, a pass rush that, overwhelmed. I mean, how many times did Dak have to scramble away and run for short gains? They had no run game. Javonte Williams scored 2 touchdowns, but I think they only had 41 yards rushing. Or he only had 41 yards rushing, and they couldn't stop the run. They gave up 179 yards rushing to Denver, which, J.K. Dobbins and company, they're good, but they shouldn't be breaking the number of 10-yard explosive runs that they did, and then they had the 40-yard touchdown run by the rookie R.J. Harvey, as you said.
I mean, to your point, the Giants held them down for 3 quarters, right? I mean, they were down 19-0. And they had to overcome this huge deficit. They were 3 scores down with 6 minutes to go in that game, and came back and had that kind of miracle comeback. And I think Sean Payton was a little worried about that. Was such an emotional comeback. How will the team perform? Well, they came out and performed and put 44 points on the board. RJ Harvey went off, and Dobbins and anybody who wanted to. I mean, think about those receivers. They had one play, Ed, where their best receiver dropped the ball in the end zone. I mean, Bo Nix put a gorgeous throw to the SMU receiver that's so good. Cortland Sutton, yeah, and he bounced it off his chest. And then number 11, some of these receivers I barely know. They were just up and down the field on the Cowboys. I mean, they were just crushing the Cowboys on that front. Now, Ed, to your point, Dak's game was uneven, wasn't great. He had the bad throw up the seam. He didn't need to. At that point, they needed points. He tries to throw one deep down the field. That hurt him. Then when they were just desperately trying to get back in the game, he throws another one. And to me, Ed, that was almost like the real give-up part of the game was when he throws a poor – I mean, they were out of the game basically, but I guess it was still – wasn't it? Was it 37-17? And they're moving the ball down there, and like a defensive lineman picks him off, gets up, and starts racing down the field. I'm like, wait, is that guy like a safety? 92 is just like ducking in
a red zone pick, yeah.
Yeah, and it took
and that was just against a four-man rush. Both of his interceptions today came against four-man pressures, and he only had 2 interceptions all year against four-man pressures. So obviously the emphasis for the Cowboys was on getting the ball out quick, and that really takes them out of their game because, they like to go vertical. They like to create some big plays, yards after the catch with CeeDee Lamb, with George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, who's, piled up all these touchdowns in recent games, didn't even have a catch in the game. So, yeah, and I thought it was fair that Schottenheimer, after the game basically said, hey, we're not going to just come in here and talk about how bad the defense is. That's what it looks like when the offense plays as bad as the defense. They got completely – we talked about how well they played complimentary football last week, their best complimentary football game of the season. This was one of their worst complimentary football games of the season because they had nothing on either side of the ball.
Yeah, although he also tried to walk out there the whole it's just one game deal.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's one game that's looked a lot like 4 or 5 other games.
Correct. And you're right. And we were brought back like this one narrative. It's like unbelievable offense, unbelievable quarterback, MVP type candidate on one hand, horrific defense. Today, you're right. They did play complimentary football, just bad on both sides, right? They complemented each other in a horrible fashion. All right, Ed, believe it or not, we do have Glenn Stretch Smith, and we've got stretch plays, and I mean, you got to catch him because he's running from place to place. He has to get down to WFAA, but we were able to catch up with former Cowboys scout and coach Glenn Stretch Smith for stretch plays. It is time for stretch plays. Glenn Stretch Smith, former Cowboy scout head coach, also part of WFAA, joining us. Stretch, welcome to the show. The Cowboys go in and lose 44-24 to the Broncos, and we'll break down the defense because it was another poor performance, and we know that it was kind of down to the bottom part of the roster on the back end of that defense. But let's start with the offense because in a situation like this, you need the offense to basically be perfect and try to go score every time. And that didn't happen today. And there were obviously key turnovers, a couple of interceptions, not a great game for Dak. What did you make of the overall offensive performance falling down, 27-10 by halftime, and really not, other than making it 27-17 briefly, not giving the Cowboys much of a chance?
Yeah, the thing that was interesting is that we've talked about this. Defensively, you needed to get several stops, and believe it or not, they had opportunity to get back-to-back stops after getting Peyton calling an RPO in the third play of the game. Nix throws a bad ball that gets picked, and then Dallas goes down, kicks a field goal, and the Dallas defense has a chance to go 3 and out, and Houston lines up off sides. Maddening there. maddening that the Cowboys knew in this scenario that they have very little, and I mean little, margin for error on offense if you're going to win the football game versus a team that you know is fixing to put 35 on the board. I mean, that's just, you knew that was going to happen. You knew you were playing down the line guys in the secondary. I thought it was the worst game Dak has had this year. He had opportunity to get the football out a couple of times, and one time was on a quick throw that should have been his other pick in the game, where Guyton went to quick set the end, and the end just backed off and almost picked the football off when he was trying to get the ball to the flat. It's hard to be critical of an offense. It's really, really good, but today they needed a perfect outing. Should have been challenged, knowing who you're lining up in the secondary with to go have a perfect outing, and they didn't get it done. I mean, Guyton got beat inside one time for a sack. Steele got beat really bad one time inside, and I know this is a really good defense. Vance Joseph has a really good defense. I mean, they're the best in the league at getting off the field on third down. So there were opportunities there, and they didn't take them. The other thing that frustrated me offensively was right before the half. I mean, literally, they needed about 6 or 7 yards to get in field goal range, and they were getting back-to-back possessions, and he tries to throw the seam ball, and Jahadae Barron runs right with the seam, turns his head, and picks the football off in a cover 2 look. It was a poor throw. I thought it was really poor timing of when he threw that football, but from an offensive standpoint, in my look, you scored 17, and Joe Milton makes a great throw at the end of the game, and Tolbert makes a catch, gets his feet down, but you scored 17 offensively, and I don't care if it's this week or next week versus Arizona, or then you start rolling them out. Detroit, Kansas City, Chargers. You're going to have to score 35 a game, and so at the end of the day, you had to score at least 35 today to give yourself a chance to win, and you didn't score half that. So, I can't look at that as a very favorable situation. I thought that the Denver defense decided to say, you're not going to run the football on us, and we're not going to let Ferguson kind of run through the middle of the field and get to where he's comfortable. And that's so now that blueprint's out there to shut you down. Do I think Dallas is really good offensively? I do. I think that's what's going to keep them in games. But Matt, they didn't get it done tonight or this afternoon in Denver, and that's why. You're going to say, well, defensively they couldn't stop them. No, they couldn't, but they didn't get it done on the offensive side either.
True. And what we're not going to do is beat up on, because they obviously knew the Cowboys were down at safety. They were struggling at corner. They targeted, even though he had a pick early in the game, they went after Bridges big time. And so the Cowboys had some trouble in the back end. But other than that, okay, let me ask you this. RJ Harvey bounces a run outside. I mean, they're running backs on those tosses. Nobody's setting the edge. There are no run fits. Cornerbacks getting played completely out of there. And on one of those plays, I think it was Murray, is getting blocked 15 yards downfield. So some of these guys are veterans. Some of them have actually been around a little bit. And again, whether it be the Broncos throwing downfield or running the ball, the Cowboys' inability to do anything, completely took them out of the game.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Kyer Elam on that first toss for a touchdown, Kyer Elam's got to come up in there and fill that. I mean, that's his responsibility. You can't sit back on your heels. And you got it right. I mean, they were having a hard time setting the edge on the defense. And so that why – and again, if I'm going to be openly critical, I mean, why would Sean Payton have called an RPO the third play of the game? I have no idea, because he showed you he could do whatever he wanted to offensively, and Dallas had no answers defensively. So very frustrating, very tough as a Cowboys fan to take. And like you said, I think Clark is a good player. I think Osa is a good player. I think you've got I thought Clowney did some pretty good things today, but you got a linebacking core that is not very good in coverage, and you got a secondary that is depleted, and that's what you looked at. You looked at a Sean Payton coached football team that he knows how to scheme guys open. He knows how to get guys open. The second touchdown, he runs an inside corner with an outside post, and it's a very simple concept. It's just basically a scissors concept, but Dallas act like they had never seen it before. So that's what gets to be frustrating, is when you're looking at that kind of stuff.
All right, last thing, put your coaching hat on, and you were with some Cowboy staffs and even with some OU staffs where I'm sure you had to deal with some shenanigans off the field, but knowing how badly they need DBs right now, and they're having to bring guys up off the practice squad. The fact that they had to put Trayvon Diggs on IR after this strange, we still don't know exactly what happened, how maddening and how frustrating is that for a coach? And then, could you see that being the final time we ever see Trayvon Diggs on the football field for the Dallas Cowboys, given the fact of, how much he continues to let them down?
No, he's a good player, and he's needed on this football team. Here's the problem with that, is that I don't think he gives the same sense of urgency, whether it's during the offseason when he didn't put his time in here, how he rehabbed and how he goes about his business. They desperately needed Trayvon Diggs. They still need him. Do I think he's seen? I do. I think he's seen his last time as a Cowboy. I think they put him on IR, and I think they're done with it. I really do. I think that the training staff, obviously, they're not on the same page with him, and so I think they're just going to wash their hands of that situation. And it's unfortunate because he can play. He's been coached by Nick Saban. He knows how to play man coverage. He plays with great technique. Is he a very fast guy? No, but he can jump and he can sit on some routes. And to be without him really hurts this football team right now. And quite frankly, he is hurting this football team by, over the last 9 months, how he has attacked his off the field business.
You've seen it over the years, Stretch. People will want, okay, Jerry, go make a move, go help this team. But there are too many leaks to plug right now. It's okay, you need somebody in the secondary, need a pass rusher. You're not getting any sacks. You're not getting enough pressure. You got linebackers that can't tackle. It's there's too many holes to fill if you're Jerry. You agree with that?
Well, I made a statement to somebody the other day. I said, is there a chance that if the Texans are out of it, could you go package up something to bring in Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, Jalen Petrie, and throw in somebody else, right? Shair, the linebacker.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, give me all those guys where you want. I got 4 ones here. What? Now, I don't know how it fits with the salary cap and all that, but I'm addressing your point. They need a corner. They need a safety. They need a linebacker. They need a pass rusher. How are you going to – you don't have enough Band-Aids right now to fix all of these wounds. And so, unfortunately, you're going to have to think from a coaching standpoint, okay, when can we get Overshown back? Does Ravel show some signs that he's ready to get on the field? And then how do we kind of make the guys that we got better? And what you saw was that's really hard to do. It's really hard to do. They tried to run man coverage one time with a shallow route, and the linebacker, I'm not even going to call the name. I had no chance to get there. And so it's really, really difficult when you have and you're trying to play with less than players. And I've been openly critical of Matt Eberflus and him not being more aggressive. But you know what? At the end of the day, he's not covering anybody. He's not making any sacks. And so you got to kind of make do with what you got here right now. And it's going to be a hard thing for them to deal with, because this is not a one-guy fix. This is not even a two-guy fix.
You're right. And you've brought it up many times, lining up in the neutral zone, jumping off sides. You're on the 1 yard line. You got a chance to punch it in. You get a false start. I mean, there were at least 5 pre-snap penalties. And that was like in the first half alone. That was a bad situation. And so as much as Shoddy's done some good things this year, boy, that team, did not look overly prepared today in some areas. Stretch, we appreciate you, man. Stretch will be on WFAA every Sunday night at 10:30. Then he does some stuff the next day in the noon time frame. And then, they do some good things. Stretch, tell your people at Channel 8, I happen to tune into Friday's telecast of that afternoon. Allen and Prosper got it on, and that ended up being an unbelievable football game. And WFAA broadcast that. Mike Leslie and the guys did a good job with that. So, hey, thank you, Stretch. I appreciate it, and we'll see you soon.
See you, man. Have a good evening.
You bet. There he goes. Glenn Stretch Smith, Stretch Plays on the Doomsday Podcast. All right, we'll get back into it with Ed Werder next.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code Doomsday to score $100 in bonus funds or bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code DOOMSDAY. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 and up, 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
All right, there he was. And you could see kind of even in that graphic, just kind of shouting. He was just kind of shouting, and he wasn't, although he was not profane. And this is a podcast that even your grandson, even little Henry, could listen to and enjoy without profanity. Ed does not allow profanity in tweets. If you tweet at him and you cuss, Ed'll usually drop you out of there. But Ed, I can't blame Cowboys Nation out there for maybe some foul language, maybe being upset at what they witnessed. And again, as you said, doesn't get much easier, right? Now, again, will they play well against Arizona? On a Monday night, yeah, probably so. They'll probably put up huge numbers, and they'll probably beat them, and they'll get it to 500, and then we'll be. But Ed, it's just there's too much inconsistency to believe that they could kind of get it going. And what happens is with the broadcasters, for instance, they're like, hey, they think at the start of this game, Ed, they were saying Tony Romo was on the game, and he was like, hey, I think they're kind of. By the way, did you see Tony?
He doesn't come down to the field usually now.
Oh, okay. I thought
you
you
might
might have
circulate down there.
Bumped into him down on the field or whatever before the game. Ed, as he shared earlier, had some field passes, and so if I know Ed, he was enjoying time with family, but he was probably down there asking some questions, trying to get some intel, hopefully for the Doomsday podcast. But again, what's coming up it's not some kind of like easy road, like, oh, the Cowboys. Now, what Tony said, Ed, you probably read this. I saw Machota and some others had quoted Tony, was he thinks this team will hover around 500 all year. And there seemed to be a belief from Tony that they might stay in the playoff race. Now, that may be based on the division just not being that great. Commanders are under 500. We'll get to see the Commanders tomorrow. Well, so wait, do the Commanders play tomorrow night and then they turn around and play? Okay, yeah, they play Monday night tomorrow night. And then, of course, Arizona comes in to play the Cowboys on Monday night.
They play the Chiefs. Yeah.
The Chiefs tomorrow night. Yeah, so we'll see. And again, if the week-to-week nature of this, Ed, if they somehow knock off the Chiefs, we'll be back here talking about, hey, the Commanders are really good. The Commanders.
Yeah, but the Eagles won today, so
yeah,
they're now 2.5 games ahead of Dallas again. Dallas lost, whatever ground they made up last week, and during this Eagles 2-game losing streak has now been wasted, and it's hard to see them competing in the division. They've already lost to the Eagles once, and they'll probably play well against Arizona. Although it's worth noting that Kyler Murray, assuming he's back in the lineup for the Cardinals, has never lost at AT&T Stadium. The Cardinals have a long winning streak against the Cowboys too. Not as long as the Broncos, but a long one. Broncos have beaten the Cowboys 8 straight times. And the Broncos have won 8 straight home games, not just against the Cowboys. But so this is a tough place to play. And being in the stands, you got a real sense of, the stadium physically moves when the fans are engaged in the game. They're consistently loud, not just on third downs or on big plays. It's every play. And so obviously their defensive line gets a great jump, and they create a lot of problems for the offensive line, as you saw with the false start penalties that plagued them many times throughout the course of the game. So the Cowboys might win against Arizona and get back to 500, and maybe then after the bye week they go win at the Raiders on a Monday night. But then the real tough schedule starts to kick in, and they're playing the Eagles, and they're playing the Chiefs, and they're playing the Chargers. The Vikings aren't what we thought they were going to be, because they let Sam Darnold go, which was clearly a mistake. They have to play the Lions still. So they got a lot of really top-level quarterbacks, way better than Bo Nix, that they have to still confront with this terrible defense that can't rush the passer and continues to leave receivers mysteriously wide open.
And Ed, I think when a defense has been this bad, you do grasp at straws, right? And so DeMarvion Overshown had, his 21-day window was activated. So he's returned to practice. And so help is on the way a little bit there at line. But it's a lot to ask. He's a good player. He's never been able to stay on the field for a long period of time. It's a lot to ask for. DeMarvion Overshown, come in and save the day. Siobhan Revel, think about that. Revel. This guy was a third-round pick, and it's like, hey, this guy would have been a first-round pick if he wasn't injured and all. But of course, they haven't seen him, and who knows how in the world he would be. So I think they're so bad that you're just sort of grasping for all these things, right? Maybe Overshown, maybe somebody can come to the rescue. Even today, the what was the linebacker's name? Sanborn. He was supposed to be able to play, and then he went out on the field today, and he wasn't able to go. Right. I think, Henry observed and watched
Jack Sanborn.
Yeah. I think Henry was watching him warm up and then ruled him out. He was kind of lipping around out there, but help. They could look moderately better. We will be out there, Ed. We'll be out there Monday night. There's nothing you love more than a Monday night and then turning around and doing some 6 a.m. TV. But anyway, how are you going to do that, by the way? You're in Colorado.
I'm going to do it the same way I'm doing this. Doing it from the home studio at 5:30 in the morning local time.
Oh, mountain time.
But I don't have to drive. So I just have to go from the bedroom over there and in here and do the TV from right here.
Yeah, but that's going to wake Jill up because you're going to be fairly loud in there. I don't know.
I'll be very quiet, very solemn right now.
You are.
I'm not upset. Like Stretch, I've kind of given up on the whole thing.
You have. We're going to have to get you fired back up. We're going to have to get some energy out of you. All right, Ed, I appreciate it. I'll appreciate the hustle too. You could have gone to a brewery after the game. Henry really exposed Henry to some of those Broncos fans over the years. But yeah. Oh, by the way, you said your seats were in the 300 level pretty good? Were they pretty good sight lines and everything? Yeah. Okay.
Real good vantage point. We could see the whole field very well. Yep.
Yeah.
We were down lower last time I got tickets for a Bronco game, and we couldn't see over the bench, so we only saw like 3/4 of the field. This was a much better vantage point. Yeah.
Good. I think what you're saying is Sacamano used to get you better tickets.
I think they're better because they're 100 level, but they're actually worse.
I used to like all those the old PR guys. Who was the guy who used to be with Washington? Charlie. Then he went to the Panthers. I like those old.
Charlie Dayton.
I love those
Charlie
guys.
Dayton.
I just like because they had good stories. And
Gary Wright from the
Seahawks in Miami, who used to be Harvey, who used to be with the Yankees.
Harvey Green.
Yes, I liked all those guys. The guy with the Steelers, Chip somebody. All right. This is the stuff people want. Me just mentioning random old PR.
I seriously doubt that, but we'll check the ratings.
The guy that used to be with the Packers, Rimmel or something.
Jeff Blum, Lee Rimmel.
Lee Rimmel. And he would be the PR guy at the Super Bowl. Yeah. And now so-and-so come get the quote sheets are ready for the Packers. Yeah, love that guy. All right, Ed, any parting shots? Is there anything? Were the fans like behaving themselves around you? Okay, because the NFL games can be, you're not used to sitting out in that environment. And that can be, they drink a lot, I'm told.
No, I thought it was a very well-behaved section. And I would say probably 3/4 of them were Bronco fans, but there were some, fans with wearing Cowboy jerseys there beside Henry and his mom. But they were well-behaved and they had nothing to complain about. So
what were your grandkids going to be, Delilah and Henry, for Halloween next Friday? Did you ask them?
Well, Henry was going to be Shoddy.
Ooh, that could change.
And Delilah was going to be a skunk. So somewhere in between, you have today's result.
That's good. All right, Ed, appreciate it. Appreciate the hustle. Appreciate everything you brought. We'll get up and watch you tomorrow. Is Ed?
Please do.
5:30 Mountain Time.
Don't make me do it by myself.
On WFAA with a young man named Mark Istook. I believe. Does that sound right, Ed?
That's correct. He's from the NFL Network. Yeah, he knows sports. He has a good handle on this thing.
He does a lot. Yeah, he does a lot, and so it'll be good to have him. That was weird, Ed. Today they would go to do highlights. I didn't realize CBS now is using Adam Shine for highlights. It's just interesting. I'm used to a female doing that, but anyway, that's fine. All right, for Ed Werder,
you've come close to saying goodbye to me 5 times now. Let's try it.
I'm not going to let. This is going to be like 15 dismounts. All right, we'll pick one we like. For the Z-Man, Zach Burt doing a great job. For our man Glenn Stretch Smith, for Ed Hitman Werder and his whole family there in the Fort Collins area. It is. I am Matt Mosley. We will see you next Monday night with the Doomsday Podcast. Good night, everybody.
Or Tuesday morning, one of the two.
We are Rogue Media Sports.